There's a new version of KingMiner which makes it harder to detect and decipher it.
So Ganesh, cryptojacking has been really popular this year, and it sounds like you have another story about maybe a new malware variant in that respect?
You're correct, John. We all know actually crypto mining is increasing this year, and they're trying to evolving with new techniques. Today I want to touch base with KingMiner, which is not new, but relatively new. I think it started somewhere in June 2018 of this year.
Okay.
And they have two major improvements. And this is the one study done by the Checkpoint researchers about the latest variation of the KingMiner. What it does is basically it has lots of new evasion techniques so that security researchers cannot basically identify what it's trying to do. Mm-hmm. That was major goal. And it's based on Monero mining.
Okay.
And it targets Windows servers, basically I think IIS and SQL servers, looking for them by brute forcing weak passwords.
Okay, so it's not targeting regular Windows desktop machines.
Yeah.
It's mostly looking for
either
SQL Server, Microsoft SQL servers out there on the internet,
yes,
or IIS servers.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Generally speaking, those devices or those servers are probably going to be pretty high horsepower. So because it's a high-powered server, it's probably going to be a lot more robust performance in terms of being able to mine better and faster.
And once it finds and owns any specific box, once it brute forces them into the box, it tries to download a Windows scriptlet file. I believe it's kind of similar to shellcode, this SCT file. And what it does have, it has logic to detect what type of CPU architecture that specific server or IIS or SQL server have.
Okay.
Once it detects what kind of architecture it has, it tries to send the specific payload for that particular device. The download is basically, it's kind of a zip file, but in reality it seems it's not a zip file, it's an XML file,
Okay.
So I think most of the times it's undetected. Probably it's not a zip file. Some companies may allow XML based files to sneak in. And this XML file is base64 encoded. Okay. Once this XML file has 5 files in it. Actually, it has again 5 sets of files. One is the basically Monero mining config file. I think they tweaked a little bit to suit their needs. I'll touch a little bit about that one. There is one md5.txt. It's a text file with the string ZZZ. I don't know what it's used for, but that's the only thing it has.
Okay.
And another one, there's one executable called power.exe. I think it's a main executable file. And there are a couple of DLLs. These DLLs actually supplies the functions to the power.exe. I think it's kind of supplies the arguments to the power.exe.
Okay.
And there's another, the last piece is either a text TXT or PNG file. But in case of if it's a PNG file, they're saying it's not a real PNG file. It's again, fooling the detection. Mm-hmm. Okay, once all these 5 files are extracted, the md5.txt is appended to the DLL file. I think whichever the DLL file it's actually appending, it will be appended with .zzz.
Okay.
And the power.exe is basically, as I told before, XMRig miner with little modifications. They modified from the original, the available one to tweak the little bit I think the footprint is a little bit less, and they have a registry variations. They created lots of registry keys in here, and all those have the value test in it. And finally, they have a thread called King1, the letter King and the numeric 1. I think that's the reason actually they tried to name it as a KingMiner. So King as in King from this one, and the miner as a mining. I think those are the main important features about that one. They claim that actually this specific miner has been configured to run only 70% of the CPU cycles. For example, any SQL server has what are the resources available, but they programmed to run only 75%. But they've seen all the times it's been using all the 100% CPU.
Oh, so that's not
so
working.
It's not really working.
Okay.
And they have one graphic in their blog paper, actually. The first one is in June 2018, and the first improvement came in September, and then the current, whichever one we are talking about, came in October 2018. But in one of the config file, they said this specific mining pool is using the port 9760 TCP. So I kind of looked at our telemetry data for 9760, and most of the time it was almost flatline, except for I think on November 22nd, just before I think Thanksgiving, there was a huge spike.
Okay, so like what we normally show on the internet weather,
yeah,
like that system, you saw a spike in 9760.
A significant spike. That's all. I mean, later again it dropped down, it tapered off.
Okay.
And I try to pivot, and if I'm seeing any number of scanners on this specific port, in the last 360 to 180 days, there's sometimes one scanner all the time. But the spike we have just before the Thanksgiving, there were 2 scanners. So technically, I can say 100% increase in the scanners, but really there are only 2 scanners.
Still, yeah, a very low number.
So I checked those scanners. Both seems to be, very well-known scanners.
But now, like the scanning activity for that, would be the infected devices, or would that be researchers looking for C2s? Like
I do not know. I think it's only the researchers looking for them.
That's what I was kind of thinking too. Okay.
Yeah, because it's so closely guarded, we do not have much visibility. So that's where I think the point is the mining the mining operations have been evolved, and they're trying to incorporate how to evade lower the detection rates for them.
Right. So I mean, I guess one of the things that comes to mind for me, something we talk about a lot, is if you have your SQL server exposed to the internet, maybe rethink that unless you really absolutely need to. People should secure their servers and make sure that they're not exposed to the internet unless absolutely necessary.
And also try to observe how your servers are behaving, especially the CPU loads, which can tell whether some sort of mining is happening or not.
Yeah, you should be monitoring your CPU usage, and you should be aware when you have anomalies like this spiking up. The other thing that occurred to me, the scriptlets are run under the Windows scripting host service, and I wonder if it's possible to lock that down, and whitelist only legitimate ones, because I wouldn't think that in general you'd be expecting to run a lot of these on a normal server.
Right.
But this is interesting to me, seeing what other people have figured out about interesting malware samples. So I personally thank you, Ganesh, for bringing this story, because I'm always interested in looking at new malware samples.
Thank you.